Hello, everybody. Happy National Youth Day and welcome to the session. Uh, Thank you for joining with us, welcoming you to the space. Uh, and thank you for giving us the time and joining with us. Um, this is Unnati, Youth Ambassadors with Dasra and IDO, and your moderator of the day. Uh, Talking a little bit about myself because you obviously want to know me. I work with Meda, whose mission is to prepare youth for life after school by bridging the gap between employability and education. I enjoy painting a little bit, doodling and dancing a lot. Yeah, in every situation. Uh, but I'm currently juggling between two new hobbies. It's like I'm learning to play ukulele and creating mini vlogs of random people in my life. So before we begin this energizer, I I just want you to let's start doing an energizer so that everybody energies can be together and we can be at one place. So I want you to the energizers instructions will be on the screen. So I would like for you to be I like you to view them as well as they will be on this chat also. Uh, I hope everybody has joined because this energizer is pretty interesting and I want everybody uh, to be with us. So I want you to change your names uh, with the emotion you are feeling right now and something you ate last night. And that will be your new Zoom name. So for example, if you are feeling excited right now, and you ate paratha last night, your name would be Excited Paratha, which I am very I which is my menu that I ate last night. Please take 1 minute to change your Zoom names and choose to keep these names during the call and change it back whenever you want. Yeah, let's look around the screen then and look at the people's new names. We will give you 1 minute to do that. Hi, I'm seeing some unique names: Happy Biryani, Calm Dal, Excited Tandoori Chicken. Uh, Anybody wants to share? We will be taking some people responses because as the people are so many, and but I want to get to know you. Anybody wants to share? Please unmute yourself and start speaking. Yeah. I like to know energetic fish.
Hey, hi, that's me, energetic fish.
Yeah,
Well,
hi.
fish, because yeah, I ate fish last night. I'm feeling really energized, like looking at all of you, looking forward to the session and what we have in store for the next 2 hours. Makes me feel very energized and energetic, which is why the name.
That's amazing to hear. Yeah, anybody else? Anybody else wants to share?
Okay, I will go.
Yeah, sure.
So,
Chaman?
my name, I have put my name like a hot curry because right now I'm sitting under the sun and I'm having a continuous meeting call. So, now I'm feeling very like a hot. Like I think I should shut the curtains and all. And I just had curry chawal. So, yeah, curry, hot curry.
That's amazing to hear. We all want to eat your curry and be as hot as you are, because maybe some people are cold. So anybody else wants to share? We want to know everybody what they ate and what are they feeling right now. We can take cozy noodles. Yeah. Hi, cozy.
Yeah, here from today, we are unable to see sun, and it's so yeah, I felt so cozy here, and I had a noodle yesterday night. That's why my name comes up here. That's it.
Thank you for sharing that. So I hope everybody can see other people names and you can see what they ate last night. We know what you ate last night. So going over the thing more over doing with the event, let's discuss what are the house rules. So uh, we don't currently believe in so much rules and regulations, but these are some sort of important things that we do in our life, and we in Dasra uh, think these are the basic things that we can so that we can be more inclusive of things. So it is on the screen, and I will. In today's session, it is a safe space, and because you all to listen respectfully and respect the privacy of the speakers and refrain from sending personal messages. Yeah, I hope you are not the creeps. Then that's amazing. Yeah. So for clear audio, you are requested to keep your mics off unless you have to speak. We will be recording and live streaming the today's session on YouTube also. So please reach out to someone from Dasra in case you have any questions about the same. Uh, uh, we invite you to use the chat feature to ask questions and participate in the discussions. As we all yet meet the person, we request you to keep your videos on if possible. And I would really like to see other people's faces. So if you can, that will be amazing. Should you have any trouble with the technology, please privately message anyone from the Dasra team. We will try to fix your issue. We are the Supermans, yeah. So sure, let's do that. Okay, with the house rules done, I feel that you are all feeling empowered with the house rules. Yeah. So let's go further. Introducing more something about the program, what we did. Let's as young people, as a youth ambassador myself, as young people, we see that we know that the existing narratives about the sexual reproductive health and the access to contraception of family planning is quite narrow, because if you only cater, it only caters to the certain section of the society, it caters to married young people, and it is extremely heteronormative. As young people, many of us have the realization that we need yet to come with some narratives in which are more inclusive and representatives, and in which caters to diverse need of the young people, and not limited uh, to the right and right wing or something like that. Um, so in the beginning of the program, we did some design thinking workshops with the youth ambassadors and youth organizations who are part of the event today also. So welcome. Uh, and we learn and discuss within the program, and that's what we learned. We are taking that to the larger audience. Understand whether all the people think the same, and it is not based on the workshop. uh, we also did a peer research for 1 month. We collected many responses from the youth of India, and we trying to go beyond the tier 1 cities, and we collected responses from tier 3 cities also. uh, we have come with some emerging narratives, and we have followed the user centric approach. Today, you will be hearing from the youth ambassadors what their takeaways from the SRH program was, and some unique insights they've gathered as a youth ambassadors. Going further, I will be inviting Aditi from Dasra to take further the program and some insights. Over to you, Aditi.
Thanks so much, Unnati. First of all, thank you everyone for joining us today. Right at the outset, I want to acknowledge all of your time and for joining us in this space today. I know in the midst of the recent COVID surge, we're all juggling a bunch of priorities and trying to take care of our own health and those of our loved ones. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Happy National Youth Day, like Unnati said. We wanted to bring this group together today really to celebrate the work of our youth ambassadors. In about August of last year, we started an exercise to hear from young people really what they wanted and where the current programming in the space of young people's access to sexual and reproductive health and contraception in particular was breaking down. As most of you here know, Dasra is anchoring an effort along with a bunch of other partners supported by the Gates Foundation to build a coalition of 1 million young people from tier 2 and tier 3 cities to advance access to contraception for India's youth. And we really wanted this effort of ours to be youth-led right from the beginning. And that's really why we took off on this exercise in August of last year, to hear directly from young people really where the gaps were, what the challenges were. And when we, for us to start beginning this intervention and talking to young people, what would it need? What would it take for us to be able to actually have an open conversation to address the gaps that currently keep young people from accessing contraception and sexual and reproductive health? That was when we began this exercise. We started with a series of design thinking workshops. A number of our partners here were present, and your insights have been tremendously valuable in helping us anchor areas of inquiry, giving us a good sense of really where things are breaking down and what we need to focus on. And then we had a series of workshops with a set of 11 youth ambassadors, most of which you're going to hear from today, I think, because of a bunch of things around COVID and the current situation. We have 7 of our youth ambassadors who are going to take us through their journey, what they've learned, and the kind of messaging narratives that have emerged through this exercise today. We did these design thinking workshops with them to understand, based on their own lives, what kept them from accessing SRH and contraception, and what were things that enabled access, and not just in the medical sense or the technical sense, but in the social sense as well. What spaces, what kind of messaging narratives, what really got them interested in this conversation and would help them kind of further access to this, and the role that SRH played in their own lives in being able to help them complete school, enter the workforce, navigate relationships, peer circles, all of these things. And so it's been a really, I think, eye-opening exercise for all of us who've been part of this, and it was really incredible to hear from young people. I do want to acknowledge that we've been doing this online now, like everyone else, for the last 2 years, and that there have been some limitations with that. We would have liked for our pool of youth ambassadors and for the number of young people that we reached out to be greater and have more diversity. We did, however, try to solve for that. The 11 youth ambassadors that we had went out and got responses from 150 of their peers across a few states. And in the next kind of phase of the coalition and how we're planning to take the narratives that we've built from this exercise forward, which we'll talk about at the end, the effort is to kind of enshrine diversity and have young people from across walks of lives and backgrounds to be more kind of present in all of these conversations. I want to just take a moment to thank all of our youth ambassadors for their incredible work, for their incredible insights, and for the research that they went out and did. They had conversations that were uncomfortable with their peers to talk about issues that aren't often talked about, and really gained some really valuable perspectives that I think are really going to anchor the way forward for us. I would really like to thank the work of all of our partners. IDEO, who was kind of our captain through this process in terms of helping us put together a design thinking format for these exercises, but also a whole bunch of other partners. There's a slide that will come up I'm not going to try to name because I'm sure I'll leave out a few people, but all of these partners contributed time, their youth networks, and their perspectives to this exercise. So thank you so much. All of this work, I think, is going to be, is going to culminate in a set of campaigns as well as activities that we launch in April of this year through the Youth Coalition. And we're very excited that this started with young people and is going to continue with them leading the charge. So without taking any more time, I'm going to hand back to Unnati. What we're going to do today is hear from our youth ambassadors on how we arrived at some of these key messaging narratives. We're also going to hear from them on their experience, some kind of anecdotes from talking to their peers around why these narratives are so important to young people. They may seem obvious to a lot of us who work in this space day in and day out, but they really are the things that are breaking down and keeping a lot of the young people that we work with from accessing contraception and SRH. So we're going to hear about what these narratives are, their journey to get here, and some of their experiences and learnings. And so I'm very excited, and I'm handing back to Unnati.
Thank you, Aditi. It was amazing to listen to you. Yeah. So for the next piece, I will be handing over the session to Harshit and Likla. Before that, I will request you all to please open your videos. It will be amazing to see your faces, and I feel it will be more engaging. And it's sort of a request, and I feel that you will do that. Also, the youth ambassador, please open all your cameras also throughout the session, and that will be lovely. Also, the session will be in English, but we can translate it at any point if you want in Hindi, and it will be a mix of both. And whenever you feel that something should be repeated in other language, please reach out to us and we will do that. Now, taking over the next piece will be by presenting the new narratives by the youth ambassadors, Likla and Harshit, welcoming you to the space. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Unnati. Hello, everyone. Wishing you all a very happy National Youth Day. I'm Harshit and I'm from Gorakhpur, Uttar Pradesh. I'm currently pursuing PhD from Gorakhpur University in life sciences. I love to write and gardening, and I have keen interest in human brain and behavior. That's why I'm here. So thank you so much, Dasra and IDEO, for providing such a great opportunity to us. And now let's come to the our topic, and what are the narratives, what are the key messages, and what are the outcomes we got from the type form and survey. So SRH knowledge and access lead to power and agency to make better life choices. SRH यानी सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ, इसके नॉलेज होना बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि हमारी लाइफ डिसीजंस जो होते हैं और क्वालिटी ऑफ लिवलीहुड को अगर बेटर करना है, तो SRH सेक्सुअल एंड रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ या सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ की जो हमारे राइट्स हैं वो एक बड़ा रोल प्ले करते हैं. हम बचपन से ही देखते हैं कि मूवीज देखते हैं, फिल्म्स देखते हैं और उनमें रिलेशनशिप्स एंड इंटीमेशन को देखते हैं और हम उनसे इन्फ्लुएंस हो जाते हैं कि हाँ चलो अब ये बहुत अच्छी चीज है, बट हमें एट दैट टाइम उसकी प्रॉपर नॉलेज एंड प्रॉपर इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं होती है, जिससे हम कई ट्रबल्स में, कई बार प्रॉब्लम्स में फंस जाते हैं. तो इसके बारे में हमें बातचीत करनी होगी और डिस्कस करना होगा. एंड अगर हमसे कोई भी कुछ इसके रिगार्डिंग शेयर करता है तो उसकी हम डिसरिस्पेक्ट ना करें. हाँ, हम सबसे ये बात नहीं कर सकते, लाइक ये बहुत कई बार अनकंफर्टेबल हो जाता है कि हम किससे बात करें और किससे ना करें, लेकिन हम सबकी लाइफ में एटलीस्ट कुछ जेन्युइन लोग तो जरूर होते हैं जो हमें सुनते हैं, हमें सॉल्यूशंस दे सकते हैं, इवन जेन्युइन सॉल्यूशंस दे सकते हैं. साथ ही जो हमारा यूथ है, हमें उन्हें ये बताने की जरूरत है कि यस, ये आपका चॉइस है कि हैव अ रिलेशनशिप विद एनीवन, बट यू नीड टू बी अवेयर कि इसके क्या क्या कंसिक्वेंसेज हो सकते हैं, क्या क्या इश्यूज हो सकते हैं और आपको क्या क्या फेस करना पड़ सकता है. हमें इसे लेकर भी थोड़ा बहुत केयरफुल रहने की नीड है और अवेयर रहने की जरूरत है. अब आते हैं डिसीजन मेकिंग. सेक्सुअल एंड रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ की नॉलेज जो है वो डिसीजन मेकिंग में हमारी लाइफ में कैसे हेल्प करती है. तो अगर हम इन्फॉर्म्ड हैं, एम्पावर्ड हैं अबाउट सेक्सुअल एंड रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ राइट्स के बारे में, तो हम जो सेक्सुअली ट्रांसमिटेड इन्फेक्शंस होते हैं, डिजीज होते हैं, उनसे खुद को इजीली प्रोटेक्ट कर सकते हैं. अगर मैं एक एग्जांपल लूं, जब हम टाइप फॉर्म फिल कर रहे थे एंड उसके बाद फीडबैक लेना था। तो देयर वाज अ मैरिड लेडी, उन्होंने उन्हें कोई भी बच्चा नहीं था, उनका चाइल्ड नहीं था। तो उनकी फैमिली वाले उन्होंने ये बताया कि कुछ ना कुछ बोलते रहते थे, कोई उनकी प्रॉब्लम नहीं समझता था। अगर एक इंडिविजुअल इन्फॉर्म नहीं है तो ये नहीं कि आप उनकी प्रॉब्लम समझो, उन्हें बताओ कि आपको क्या करना है। सब उनके पीछे पड़े हुए थे कि ये क्या है, या एक हमारा जो गोरखपुर का एरिया, वहां पे कुल का दीपक चाहिए होता है सबको, वो सारी चीजों के लिए उन्हें टॉन्ट किया जाता था। तो हमें उनकी जो रियल प्रॉब्लम है, जो ट्रबल्स है, उन्हें समझने की नीड है। अगर एक इंडिविजुअल है, वो इन्फॉर्म्ड है, अवेयर है, तो दे कैन डिसाइड व्हेन टू हैव चिल्ड्रन, एंड वुमेन कैन हैव एक्सेस टू services, they can help that have a fit pregnancy, safe delivery and healthy baby. आज हम सबका फोकस करियर के इर्द गिर्द घूमता रहता है। 21st सेंचुरी की हम बात करते हैं, 21st सेंचुरी स्किल्स की बात करते हैं, तो सब सोचते हैं कि पहले हमें करियर प्लान करना है, देन फैमिली को प्लान करना है। तो या इट्स राइट कि आप अपना करियर प्लान करिए, बट जितना फोकस हम उस पर करते हैं तो हम ये भी डिसाइड कर सकते हैं व्हेन टू हैव अ चाइल्ड एंड ऑल, व्हेन टू, और हम फैमिली प्लानिंग कैसे कर सकते हैं। एक मेरी आंटी हैं, वो इन्फॉर्म्ड है, वो एम्पावर्ड हैं अबाउट एसआरएच। तो उन्होंने आईवीएफ का यूज किया और उन्होंने बिल्कुल वो झिझक नहीं दिखाई कि हाँ ये आईवीएफ का मैं यूज कर रही हूँ तो लोग मुझे क्या कहेंगे। बहुत सारी चीजें लोगों ने उन्हें कही भी, बट उन्हें उसका कोई इफेक्ट नहीं पड़ा, वो अफेक्टेड नहीं उससे कि या ये गलत है, या सोसाइटी मुझे एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर रही है, या लोग मुझे समझ नहीं रहे। इट टेक्स टाइम, ये टाइम लेगा, लेकिन सोसाइटी भी आपको समझेगी। साथ ही साथ जब हम अवेयर रहेंगे तो हमें ये पता होगा, अगर हम कभी भी फिजिकल रिलेशनशिप्स में जा रहे हैं तो बिफोर दैट फिजिकल रिलेशनशिप, या बिफोर बीइंग फिजिकल एंड आफ्टर दैट, हमें क्या करना है, कौन से प्रोटेक्टिव मेजर्स हम यूज कर सकते हैं, और क्या क्या हमारे लिए बेटर हो सकता है और क्या हमारे लिए बेटर नहीं होगा। सो वी नीड टू ब्रेक द स्टिग्मा, एंड हाउ कैन वी डू दैट। तो जो गोल्स हैं उन्हें हम कैसे अचीव करेंगे, हमारी आप नेक्स्ट स्लाइड जो है आप उस पर देख सकते हो। सो वेयर टू फोकस अबाउट एसआरएच डिस्कोर्स। जब हम फीडबैक ले रहे थे या सबसे बातचीत कर रहे थे, तो मेरा एक फ्रेंड था, मैंने उससे बात की जब, तो अबाउट मेल कॉन्ट्रासेप्शन एंड कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव मेथड्स। तो उसने बोला यार ये सब क्या है, ये तो फीमेल्स के चोचले हैं एंड ऑल, और ये हमें इसकी कोई जरूरत नहीं है। वी आर यूजिंग कंडोम्स, दैट बेस्ट थिंग, उसके अलावा हमें और कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है। एंड जितने लोगों से मैंने बात की, माय पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस जो मेरा रहा इस जर्नी में, 5 out of 10 boys don't know about male contraception and about the techniques they can use. और सेम थिंग अगर मैंने अपने एक फ्रेंड से बात की जो सेम बैकग्राउंड से आता है, मेरा बैचमेट है, एमएससी उसकी बायो साइंसेस से, जब मैंने उससे ये सारी चीजों के बारे में बात की तो ही वाज लाइक कि क्यों करना हमें, व्हाट्स द नीड ऑफ दीज कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव मेथड्स एंड ऑल। तो मुझे आई वाज शॉक्ड बाय दैट रिप्लाई कि अगर एक वेल एजुकेटेड बंदा है ये ऐसा बोल रहा है तो औरों का क्या होगा, और लोग क्या करेंगे, कैसे करेंगे। सो when we are discussing and debating about sexual reproductive health, we not only need to focus about SRH. We need to focus how can we keep more informed about the available contraception methods, its access, but we also need to focus on keeping them informed about consequences and issues and other related topics to sexual and reproductive health. Keeping them informed at the right age is mandatory, but making sure that they are talking about CSE, comprehensive sexuality education, in the way it is intended, it's also mandatory, to make sure that they are not misinterpreting that knowledge and they are not taking it in fun way, because it is just serious matter to be talked about. अगर हम हमारी जो टाइप फॉर्म था एंड जो सर्वे था, उसमें हमने देखा कि मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल दे वांट कि जो कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव सेक्सुअल एजुकेशन है उसे स्कूल्स एंड कॉलेजेस में मैंडेटरी करने की जरूरत है। हाँ, हमें मैंडेटरी करने की जरूरत है, हमें गुड टच एंड बैड टच से भी आगे बढ़ना पड़ेगा, तो ही हम कुछ कर सकते हैं। बट ये इतना इजी होने वाला नहीं है, ये बहुत चैलेंजिंग होने वाला है। हम एक यूनिवर्सल सेट ऑफ रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस नहीं बना सकते कि सारे एज ग्रुप को हम वो दें। वी नीड टू सेट द रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन अकॉर्डिंग टू द एज ग्रुप। जैसा एज ग्रुप है हमें वैसा करना पड़ेगा। एंड बिफोर इनेबलिंग अ टीनेजर, वी फर्स्ट नीड टू टीच हिज और हर पेरेंट्स। उसके बाद ही हम कुछ कर सकते हैं। हमें उन्हें अवेयर करने की नीड है पहले। बहुत सारे कैंपेन्स होते हैं जो गवर्नमेंट भी रन करती है और डिफरेंट एनजीओ एंड नॉन प्रॉफिट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस जो होते हैं वो भी रन करते हैं, बट गवर्नमेंट के जो कैंपेन्स हैं उनका आउटकम क्या होता है, वो कितने प्रोडक्टिव होते हैं, जल्दी कोई देखने नहीं जाता। अगर मैं बात करूं गोरखपुर और आसपास की जो सिटीज हैं, अ ब्रदर कांट टॉक अबाउट पीरियड्स एंड HIV एड्स विद अ सिस्टर। स्कूल्स में ये मेरा पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस है कि आपको जो रिप्रोडक्शन के चैप्टर हैं स्कूल्स में टीचर्स स्किप कर देते हैं, तो ये नहीं होना चाहिए। हमें उन सारी चीजों पे भी फोकस करना पड़ेगा कि अवेयरनेस करें और सारी चीजें करें, बट जो टीचर्स हैं, जो पेरेंट्स हैं, उन्हें भी हम पहले अवेयर करें। ये सारी चीजें करने के साथ साथ हमें अवेयरनेस अबाउट वैल्यूज एंड एथिक्स ये भी उतना ही इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि अगर उन्होंने जिसे भी हम ये नॉलेज प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, पास ऑन कर रहे हैं, तो अगर उन्होंने गलत सेंस में इसे लिया तो उनके लिए ही प्रॉब्लम होगी, उनके लिए ही हार्मफुल होगा, साथ ही सोसाइटी के लिए भी इसका नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट पड़ेगा। सो अवेयर करना इज अ गुड थिंग, इसमें कुछ गलत नहीं है। आप उन्हें लाइक इतना एम्पावर कर रहे हो, उनके अंदर इतना कॉन्फिडेंस ला रहे हो कि वो सारी चीजें कॉन्फिडेंटली बोल सकें, क्योंकि नॉलेज पास करना एक कुछ नहीं होता, लेकिन अगर कोई क्वेरीज उनकी आती हैं तो हमें उसे भी सॉल्व करना होगा जिससे नॉलेज अच्छे से पास ऑन हुई है। एंड फॉर ऑल दैट पर्पज वी नीड टू क्रिएट सम स्पेसेज जहां हम बात कर सकें, ओपनली बात कर सकें, और SRH सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ की जो या STI जो है उसके बारे में अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं तो वी डोंट फील असेम्ड कि इसके बारे में हम बात करें तो लोग क्या सोचेंगे। दैट्स ऑल फ्रॉम माय साइड। प्लीज निकला, गो अहेड।
Thank you, Harshit. So Harshit has clearly spoken about the importance of knowledge and access in enabling power and agency of young people. So how do we make sure that the young people receive the required knowledge and have improved access to SRH services? So it's important for us to create opportunities for young people here to learn and be informed about their sexual and reproductive health and its services, to develop the skills and agency to make the right choices and claim their rights, and also to enable them access any support or services they need without any hindrances. So, so here we have identified 4 areas. Okay, so the first one is, including men and boys in the conversation. So oftentimes we see sexual and reproductive health as a women issue, and therefore the conversations are mostly focused around women and girls. But we know that it's really important for them to be aware and be informed about SRH to prevent themselves from the unwanted consequences and also for their well-being. And another important reason to bring boys and men into this conversation is because it's not enough to inform only women and girls about contraception or SRH, since there's a need for equal participation and responsibility from men too. For example, it's not enough to keep telling women that condoms can help prevent STIs and unwanted pregnancies, while men do not learn about using contraceptives responsibly on their part and respecting women's choices about their bodies. And also, it's necessary to consider the existing gender inequalities and the power imbalance that we see between men and women, because it's very common that we hear narratives about men refusing to use condoms and women have to go through the consequences alone, and men not agreeing to sterilization. So more women end up getting, sterilization, bearing more complications. So I feel this is the reason why it is essential to include, men in such conversations in order to avoid like coercion and abuse, but rather encourage respect, healthy boundaries, support, and cooperation. And the second is create space for varying stages of youth. So there are many factors like age, gender, culture, religion, and geographical regions that could influence one's understanding and awareness about SRH and access to it. So a child who has just hit puberty has unique curiosity and concerns. Then mid to late adolescents are often more concerned about their body image and relationship. And as they grow older, we see the pattern changed in their cognitive, emotional, and social aspects of life. And so when I reached out to the young people with different sexual and gender identities while I was collecting the data, I learned that some of their issues and concerns were also very different. Because some had brought up about SRH for people with disabilities, some had asked about homosexual relationships, what safe practices are in a lesbian relationship, what like about pleasure and all. But so here I feel it's important to cater to the different needs of each, specific section of these diverse youth population. And also when I interacted with my respondents, I learned that like some of them had not even heard about sexual and reproductive health, like regardless of the educational qualification they had. Many of them were not familiar with the word, even contraceptives. And almost all of them, I would say, had difficulties filling the form because that was the first time they were asked about SRH and, met to reflect upon such topics. So I learned again, there is this, again, very specific group of people, regardless of where they are at life, who are not informed or aware enough about SRH. And only very few who have had exposure to such conversations seem to have at least some basic understanding of the subject. So I'm not sure about the factor behind this, but these small, like, very few people, again, there are these different sections based on the different points they are at in terms of understanding SRH. So, but we don't know. I don't know why only very few, specific population have access to information and the rest like not. So therefore, I feel it's important that we see all these differences and, uh, consider the different needs of this, diverse population. And yeah, so next is prioritize privacy and safety in all settings. I would say SRH conversation can get very personal, and it is obviously a very vulnerable conversation too. So considering the amount of stigma associated with this topic, there must not be any compromise on privacy and safety of any individual. So lack of trust in the service providers is one of the challenges that young people face in accessing services, and especially in a small place like Manipur, where I come from. So the communities here are very close knitted, and like, to be honest, everybody knows everyone. So it's like that. So it's a real challenge. So especially when an unmarried individual, buys a condom or a pregnancy test kit, they would prefer to get it from a place where they're sure that the people who know them wouldn't come to know about it. So it's a challenge. So it's a barrier, uh, you know, uh, to accessing the services, accessing the, the support or the needs they have. And also the amount of fear and stress associated with it just for accessing these services, I feel it's very unfair. But it's something that is very common and still happening. And yeah, and lastly, build a happy and trusted ecosystem around young people. This is very essential. We need this, to be more open to learning and accessing the services. One of my respondents, who is an intersex, shared how he feels, unsafe about visiting doctors, because almost all doctors here are not aware enough about intersex. They may have the clinical knowledge, but they have very little, understanding about it in the context of, social, emotional, and sexual, um, yeah. And they're not affirmative and sensitive enough, to understand their sexual health issues. So he said that the absence of experts like health professionals not sensitized enough about sexual diversities, and having no one like reliable, no one to consult, discuss, or share about their problems are making them like more helpless and insecure when they really need, any kind of support. And he also said that the service providers that he has come across are not approachable, eh, because they don't take initiatives and be open in talking about such important yet very sensitive topics. So they don't feel comfortable reaching out to them, or they don't want to have second visit to those service providers because they feel like so it's something that he shared. And he also added that when it comes to mental health, we hear a lot about peer support group, but and creating a support group for SRH was something very new to him. And you know and he showed interest, and he felt that having a collective group for SRH would be helpful. So yeah, so these are the four areas that were identified. And what's significant is that it's based on what the you'd share themselves. And it's important that these came out from their own opinions, from their own responses and voices. yeah, this is what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Likla. Thank you, Harshit. These were some great points, and I feel that I feel empowered by listening to the narratives and the stories you have told me that on the field uh, that you've collected. So this is amazing, and with the same energy, with the same insights, we will just go on to the next piece, which will be which Ada from Dashra will be handling, and she will be taking over the panel discussion with the youth ambassadors and with some great questions. And if you have any questions, you can definitely put your responses in the chat too. So over to you, Ada.
Thank you, Unnati. I think we all can agree that Unnati has really kind of set the tone and the stage in terms of energy. I think I got to see what everyone ate yesterday, and I think everyone got to see what all of us ate yesterday. So that was great. A lot of parathas and pastas. So like Unnati mentioned, we'll dive right into it. As you all would have heard, Harshit and Nikla have taken us through what were some of the key themes and key messages that came out of this exercise that our youth ambassadors have conducted. And like Likla mentioned, there were 4 pivotal pillars that are very, very important and must be kept in mind by all of us working within the sector whenever we're designing any messaging or any projects or initiatives around SRH or contraception and aimed at young people. So even when the youth ambassadors were discussing and we were finally doing a bit of an analysis of what all we heard, 2 key narratives or 2 key messages are what really came up. And today in this panel discussion, we want to spotlight those. One was, like Likla mentioned, around the inclusion of young men and boys in any and all initiatives or interventions around SRH and contraception. And the other was about a safe space. Young people want a safe space. Young people want an environment which is conducive for them to have these conversations. And so what exactly does that safe space look like? And what does that mean for different young people? So we'll be discussing these 2 pieces. I'll be calling out for each of the youth ambassadors to give us their responses, and more importantly, also share, like Lekla and Harshit did, what they have heard from the other peers and the other youth that they have reached out to through this entire training and research process. So for all the youth ambassadors, I'll repeat the question once again. We'll start with, what do you feel and why do you feel it is important to include young men and boys in all the messaging or in our projects or initiatives around contraception and sexual and reproductive health? And Akanksha, you can kindly also provide a Hindi translation to the same. But मैं ये पूछ रही हूँ कि boys और किशोर और young men और boys को include करना कोई भी initiatives या projects जो SRH से related है, ये अहम क्यों है? और इसकी एक्चुअली शॉर्ट टर्म या लॉन्ग टर्म इम्पैक्ट क्या हो सकती है अगर हम यंग मैन और बॉयज को इस कॉन्वर्सेशन या इन डिस्कशंस में इंक्लूड ना करें? जब भी मैं एक YA का नाम दूंगी, whenever I call out to a youth ambassador, would be great if you can provide a brief introduction, just like Likla, Harshit and Unnati did, and then you can start with your answers. तो ब्यूटी, हम आपसे शुरू करते हैं पहले प्रश्न से. Over to you.
थैंक यू मैम. मेरा नाम ब्यूटी पासवान है और मैं बिहार के पटना से हूँ और मैं अभी सेंटर फॉर सोशल इक्विटी एंड इंक्लूजन में पिछले 4 साल से इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन और SRHR के टॉपिक पे काम कर रही हूँ. फिलहाल मुझे बहुत ही ज्यादा SRHR का टॉपिक, मैं इतना ज्यादा उसको पसंद करती हूँ कि मैं अपने पर्सनल जीवन में, मैं घर में, ऑफिस में, मतलब कहीं भी मैं उसको ये लागू करती हूँ. और बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया कि मुझे इतनी बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी देने के लिए. तो मैं पहले सवाल पे आती हूँ कि मेरे लिए सुरक्षित स्पेस का मतलब ये है कि जहाँ कोई भी व्यक्ति या मैं या फिर कोई भी यूथ अपनी बातों को बिना रोक टोक के, बिना डर के, बिना कोई भय के, न रंग भेदभाव, कपड़ा, कोई भी चीज को ध्यान में ना रख के अपनी बातों को खुल के रखे, चाहे वो उनकी मन की बात हो, कोई परेशानी हो या उनकी यौनिकता से जुड़ी कोई प्रश्न हो, और वहां उनको कोई जज ना करे, उन्हें वहां उनको उपाय मिले, ना कि उनपे टोन कसे जाए। तो मेरे लिए सेफ स्पेस का मतलब वही है। और मैं एक एग्जांपल लेना चाहूंगी कि CACI में यूथ के साथ वर्क करती है, और उन्होंने एक बहुत ही अच्छा 5th स्पेस बनाया जिसका नाम उन्होंने व्यक्तित्व विकास केंद्र यानी VBK रखा है। वहां पे करीब अभी प्रेजेंट में 35 से 40 यूथ हर संडे को बैठते हैं, और वो बिल्कुल सेफ स्पेस है। वहां रूल है कि अगर कोई बोल रहा है तो उनकी बातों को सुने। एक अंडा टाइप का बनाया गया है कि अंडे को सुरक्षित रखने के लिए हम कौन से रूल लाए कि वो अंडा ना टूटे, और इस हिसाब से हम लोगों ने 5th स्पेस क्रिएट किया है। तो वो बहुत ही अच्छा है और बहुत ही काम कर रहा है, और बहुत यूथ इसको पसंद भी करते हैं। बाहर यूथ जो सुनते हैं इसके बारे में वो भी चाहते हैं कि हम भी इस 5th स्पेस से जुड़े, बट वो रूल रेगुलेशन नहीं फॉलो कर पाते, जिस वजह से हम उनको एंट्री भी थोड़ा नहीं देते हैं कि हमारा जो नियम है वो ना टूटे। तो थैंक यू मैम।
थैंक यू ब्यूटी, थैंक एक्चुअली अपने फील्ड उदाहरण दिए हैं, सो थैंक यू फॉर दैट। शिल्पा, हम आपसे करते हैं। शिल्पा, ओवर टू यू।
Yeah. The question that asked before is boys and men excluded in initiative of SRH.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In our society, we already think that men and women are not actively engaged in most of the SRH services, and talking about menstruation with them is stigmatized and ignorant in discussion. And for all these services, especially focus on men, women, and girls. And women are the ones who usually blame for sexual violence, families, and child parenting issues. Knowing about SRHR is an essential component in promoting a healthy lifestyle regardless of gender. And for my personal experience, one of my neighbors had struggled to conceive, and but only the women have blame have bear the burdens of infertility, and even the problem doesn't lie with her, and her husband always refuses to consult physician for that. And another is I met a family with 5 female child, but here also women from that family took blame and suffer physical and mental harassment from her spouse. For that, I want to say that if men and women are involved in each and every initiative, especially SRH services, will increase their responsibility and understanding with mutual respect, and can mobilize their support in a better way by changing their behavior and attitude towards other gender. That's my point.
Thank you, Shilpa.
And
Sorry.
yeah,
Thank you, Shilpa. I
thank
think
you.
very important, like you mentioned, that it's important for young men and boys to be a part of this conversation, not just for shared responsibility, but also mutual respect. So thank you for raising that point. Harshit, over to you. हम आपसे सुन सकते हैं.
Okay. In my opinion, in each and every sector, males and females का equal balance होना चाहिए. But जब हम sexual and reproductive health की बात करते हैं, तो मेल्स को थोड़ा सा एक्सक्लूजन फील होता है, उन्हें थोड़ा सा एक्सक्लूड कर दिया जाता है, चाहे वो गवर्नमेंट की एड्स आप देख लो या हमारी जो सोसाइटी है. एंड जब ये टाइप फॉर्म्स हम फिल कर रहे थे, तो हम लोग फीडबैक्स ले रहे थे, तो एक फैक्ट मेरे सामने ये आया कि जो मेल्स हैं वो लेस अवेयर हैं अबाउट कॉन्ट्रासेप्शन एंड कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव मेथड्स देन द फीमेल्स. आई हैव टॉक टू 33 years old मैरिड मैन. मैंने जब उनसे बात की तो उन्होंने बोला कि आफ्टर द कॉन्ट्रासेप्शन उनकी जो पार्टनर है उनकी सेक्सुअल एक्टिविटी डिसरप्ट हो गई. तो उनके माइंड में ये आ गया, ये स्टीरियोटाइप आ गया कि हाँ, अगर हम कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव मेथड्स का यूज करते हैं तो हमारी सेक्सुअल एक्टिविटी जो होती है वो डिसरप्ट हो सकती है. दैट्स व्हाई वो इसको इजीली आगे नहीं ले जा सकते हैं. Moreover, males have limited choices for contraception. That also includes fears and concerns related to vasectomy. And due to patriarchy in our society, males को ऐसा लगता है कि reproductive health जो है वो women का domain है और males को इससे कोई लेना देना नहीं है. मुझे ऐसा ही एक फीडबैक मिला था ड्यूरिंग द सर्वे कि वी आर यूजिंग प्रोटेक्शन एंड अदर प्रोटेक्टिव मेजर्स दैट आर इनफ. बाकी फीमेल्स की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि वो कैसे क्या डील करती हैं. इन टियर 3 सिटीज मेल्स प्ले द रोल ऑफ गेट कीपर्स टू द हेल्थ केयर. लाइक दैट डायरेक्टली अफेक्ट, उनके जो डिसीजंस होते हैं वो डायरेक्टली अफेक्ट करते हैं उनके पार्टनर्स की हेल्थ को, उनके चिल्ड्रन की हेल्थ को, बट वे खुद की हेल्थ के बारे में नहीं सोचते. एंड वन मोर इंटरेस्टिंग फैक्ट कि मैंने बात की थी अपने एक फ्रेंड से, तो इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे उसने ही इज मैरिड, उसने कॉन्ट्रासेप्शन और ऑल मेथड्स का यूज किया है. बट जब मैंने उससे बोला कि आप मास लेवल पे आके, कम्युनिटी लेवल पे आके और लोगों को क्यों नहीं अवेयर कर रहे हो, तो ही वाज लाइक कि लोग क्या सोचेंगे एंड सोसाइटी क्या सोचेगी हमारे बारे में कि ये क्या बोल रहा है. तो हमारा जो नीड है आज के टाइम की, वी नीड टू ब्रेक दैट स्टिग्मा एंड स्टीरियोटाइप, क्योंकि उन्हें लगता है कि कॉन्ट्रासेप्शन के बाद एक्स्ट्रा मैरिटल अफेयर्स की, रिलेशंस की तरफ, अफेयर्स की तरफ लोग चले जाते हैं. एक और ये बात मेरे सामने आई थी जब मैंने अपने नेबरहुड में एक लोगों से बात की. एक लड़का था, उसकी ये फीलिंग थी अगर मेल्स या फीमेल्स कोई भी हो, अगर वो कॉन्ट्रासेप्टिव मेथड्स का यूज कर रही हैं तो उनके लिए एक्स्ट्रा मैरिटल सेक्सुअल रिलेशनशिप्स बिल्ड करना बहुत ईजी हो जाएगा और जो ऑनेस्टी उनकी रिलेशनशिप में है वो नहीं आ पाएगी. बट दैट नॉट ट्रू. हमें उस स्टिग्मा को ब्रेक करने की जरूरत है. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshit. Thank you so much. Likla, now we can hear from you.
Yeah, I agree with Harshit, and I've also already shared. SRH is for everybody, and there is no reason why we shouldn't include, boys and men here. And I would like to share one case where, for example, you can't keep teaching girls self-defense when you don't teach boys to, boys not to sexualize and objectify, women, and, rape is unacceptable and wrong. So, we see that because of the existing gender inequalities, we see that sometimes women fail to negotiate because men do not cooperate. So it's important that we all we all move towards these at the same pace, and we are all at the same page and together walking side by side. So that only then I believe that we can achieve the well-being of SRH for everybody. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Likla. And I think very similar point which you raised was similar to also, like you said, with Harshit, which is about the fact that we need to break the stigma. And I think that stigma will also be broken when we include more people and include other genders and sexes within the conversation around contraception as well as SRH. So thank you both for raising that point. Unnati, over to you. We can hear from you about this.
Sure. Okay. Collating all the data, all the points, I feel that I agree with all the youth ambassadors. These were some great, powerful points that we learned through. I also feel that men have been excluded from the conversation. It starts from the beginning. It starts from school. I also remember when I was in 9th, when there was a menstruation topic, even the tuition teachers, even the school teachers, they used to take all the girls together and move to a new space, and they were used to talk with hushed voices about the menstruation topic, and and it was not even detailed. It was like, do you understand that? Do you understand? So and the males were like, they were kept away from all this topic, and they could not even discuss with us them. So maybe that's where it began, the excluding with of them. I also feel that that's why the males use the excuse that maybe you are on your periods in the workspaces. That's why you are reacting this way. It has become a big joke to them. They do not understand the intricacies of the menstruation process. They do not understand how it impacts us, how it impacts them, and how the lack of knowledge is making them act like like these people, that is very sad to hear. I feel that SRH should be included in the schools, in the education system, and there should be more awareness and more information about the sexuality education. It should be made a course, proper course with proper facilitators in the education system only, and the government should work on that. Even the private schools should work on that, and they should hire for the same. That's from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Unnati. I think thank you for also collating and summarizing what everyone said for this particular question. I think, like you mentioned, it's very important to start comprehensive sexuality education at a young age, and also ensure that it's contextualized and it's also age appropriate. I know this is something that the youth ambassadors discuss many times, that firstly we should, and the government or any other stakeholder should not call it just sex education. It needs to be comprehensive sexuality education, and therefore include so much else and not just reproduction within its course. Thank you to all the Ys. We'll now move on to our next question, which was about what a safe space is and what a safe space means to young people. तो हम दूसरे क्वेश्चन पे बढ़ेंगे. तो दूसरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि आपके लिए एक सेफ स्पेस का मतलब क्या है, और आपके लिए एक सेफ स्पेस इम्पोर्टेंट क्यों है, या युवा लोगों के लिए एक सेफ स्पेस इम्पोर्टेंट क्यों होती है, और आपने क्या सुना है शायद अपनी खुद की जिंदगी में या अपने एक्सपीरियंस में, या जब आप ये रिसर्च एक्टिविटी कर रहे थे अन्य दूसरे युवाओं के साथ, तो उन्होंने क्या कोई उदाहरण दिए कि उनके लिए एक सेफ स्पेस का मतलब क्या है. तो हम सेम ऑर्डर फॉलो करेंगे. तो ब्यूटी, आप पहले जाना चाहेंगे?
सबसे पहले कि सॉरी, मैंने पहले सवाल का आंसर अभी के सवाल का आंसर पहले ही दे दिया है. तो मैं जो सवाल अभी शुरू में चल रहा था, फर्स्ट सवाल, मैं उसका आंसर देना चाहूंगी कि SRH जो है वो सभी के लिए है, ना कि सिर्फ महिलाओं के लिए है. उसमें पुरुषों का भी समान भागीदारी होना चाहिए जितना कि महिलाओं के लिए है. ज्यादातर हम देखते हैं कि इसकी जानकारी ना होने की वजह से कम्युनिटी में कितना मतलब असर जा रहा है कि सबसे पहले कि लोगों को मेंस्ट्रुएशन के बारे में पता नहीं है. उनको कहना यही होता है कि ये महिलाओं की प्रॉब्लम है, महिला समझेगी, हमें उनसे कोई लेना देना नहीं है. दूसरी चीज है कि जो वर्जिनिटी होती है उसको लेकर इतना ज्यादा यहाँ पे फैला हुआ है कि अगर वर्जिनिटी उनका मतलब खत्म हो चुका है तो उन्होंने पक्का कोई गलत काम किया है. तो ये जो मैसेज फील्ड में है ये बहुत ही नेगेटिव में है. जब मैं ये सर्वे कर रही थी तो मैंने उनसे गर्भ निरोधक और यौन प्रजनन को लेकर जब सवाल मैंने उनसे करे, उनसे डिस्कशन किया, तो एक लड़का था जो शायद 18 या 19 साल का होगा. उन्होंने कहा कि दीदी आप बोल कैसे रहे हो, ये मतलब आप लड़की हो के वो भी मुझसे डायरेक्टली ऐसे बोल रहे हो, आपको शर्म नहीं आ रही है, मतलब थोड़ा तो शर्म करना चाहिए था आपको. फिर जब हमने उनको समझाया तो वो बोलते इसकी जरूरत ही नहीं है, आप लोग ऐसे ही मतलब फालतू का काम कर रहे हो, इसकी जरूरत क्या है, ये तो ऑटोमेटिक मतलब ज्ञान आ जाता है. जब उम्र बढ़ती है, शादी होती है तो पता चल जाता है, ये बताने की जरूरत थोड़ी है. ये बंद कमरे की चीज है, आप तो मतलब आप बिगाड़ दोगे हम लोगों को, आप वापस चले जाओ. तो फिर जब अगले लोगों से जब ये सवाल हुआ तो उनका भी यही रिप्लाई था कि आप बस बिगाड़ोगे, गलत मैसेज दोगे, वैसे ही लोग फिल्मों से इतना बिगड़ रहे हैं, आप लोग और आकर मतलब पूरी जानकारी ही दे देंगे तो ये लोग तो प्रैक्टिकल ही करने लगेंगे. तो फिर हम लोगों ने उनको समझाया कि प्रैक्टिकल मतलब कि लोग तो जानकारी ले रहे हैं, उनको कहीं ना कहीं से मिल रही है, चाहे वो गलत हो या सही हो, लेकिन अगर उनके पास सही जानकारी हो तो वो करेंगे, बट वो एक सेफ्टी के साथ करेंगे, इसका दुष्प्रभाव कम्युनिटी में नहीं जाएगा. तो ये एक्सपीरियंस है मेरा, और बहुत सारे एक्सपीरियंस है, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि बहुत ही जरूरी है, क्योंकि अगर उनके पास मर्दों के पास इनकी जानकारी होगी तो हम महिलाओं को बहुत ही ज्यादा हेल्प मिलेगा प्रजनन में, बच्चों को पालने में, हिंसा से बचेंगे हम लोग. तो ये बहुत ही जरूरी है. शुक्रिया.
थैंक यू ब्यूटी. और अगर आप कुछ और जोड़ना चाहेंगे वो जो क्वेश्चन सेफ स्पेस के अराउंड है, आई नो आपने थोड़े पॉइंट्स ऑलरेडी मेंशन कर लिए हैं, लेकिन अगर आप जोड़ना चाहेंगे कि आपने कोई उदाहरण अगर सुने हैं फील्ड से कि युवाओं के लिए क्या एक सेफ स्पेस की डेफिनेशन क्या होती है या मीनिंग क्या होती है, शायद हम ये आपसे सुन सकते हैं आफ्टर द यूथ एम्बेसडर्स, या अगर आप अभी शेयर करना चाहेंगे वो भी चलेगा.
थैंक यू मैम, बट अभी सभी को मौका दे, फिर मैं लास्ट में जोड़ूंगी.
ठीक है, बढ़िया. ठीक है, Likla, over to you for the same question about what a safe space means to you and what is the importance of a safe space.
Thank you, Ida. So a safe space for me, it's not only a physical or a virtual space, but also a space in a relationship, whether it be family or friends or any other kind of relationship where I feel safe and comfortable to be my true self, and where my boundaries are respected, and where I feel comfortable sharing my concerns and be open about my vulnerabilities, and where I know that I'm heard or listened to, without judgment. And because in this space, I don't expect a solution immediately, but first, just being heard, it would make me feel really safe. And it's really important, uh, for anybody, not only for young people, but for anybody. And because it's important because that's where we are able to be open and share our issues. Like when we have any issues, that's where that's where we can learn. That's where we can get support, so which will really help us in actually deal with many consequences that we may not be able to deal alone. So I think it's very important in that way, and that what it means to me. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Likla. I think very, very important point you've mentioned, that a safe space is just a place where we would like to be heard, which is actually so much easier said than done. So thank you for raising that point. It's very, very important. And it's something we've heard most of the young people and most of the youth ambassadors actually mention across the different conversations we've had. So thank you for that. Harshit, over to you.
Okay. I can relate with the points Likla made. And I want to add some more points, like what's the safe space for me? For me, a safe space is a place where you can go to relax and recharge. And that spaces must be non-judgmental zone, where you can let your guard down and truly be yourself. Like आप अपने लिए भी honest हो और आप दूसरों के प्रति भी उतने ही honest हो. There should be human to human connection. For me, it must be inclusive, interactive and authentic. Authentic की बात इसलिए आती है क्योंकि मैं कुछ सेफ स्पेसेस का पार्ट रहा हूँ, एज आई एम आल्सो एसोसिएटेड विद मेधा. तो वहां पे उन्नति कुछ मेंटल हेल्थ के रिगार्डिंग सेफ स्पेसेस को लीड करती हैं, जिसे हम शेयरिंग सर्कल्स कहते हैं. तो वहां पे भी अगर हम 10 मेंबर्स हैं और हम बात कर रहे हैं, तो उसमें से 1 या 2 मेंबर्स ऐसे जरूर होते हैं जो जजमेंटल होते हैं, जो हमारी प्राइवेसी को रिस्पेक्ट नहीं करते हैं. तो हमें किसी भी ऐसे सेफ स्पेस क्रिएट करने से पहले, इन लोगों को ऐड करने से पहले एक फिल्ट्रेशन प्रोसेस की जरूरत है कि ऐसे लोग ना आ पाए जो जजमेंटल हों और जो प्राइवेसी की रिस्पेक्ट करना ना जानते हों, और so that each voice can be heard, validated and respected. Like एक बहुत कॉमन डिजीज होती है मेल्स में, साइफिलिस एंड गोनोरिया. बहुत कॉमन इन्फेक्शन है, बट मेल्स जो हैं वो अपने फ्रेंड्स से सेक्स ओरिएंटेड जोक्स तो क्रैक कर लेते हैं, बट अगर इन इन्फेक्शंस पे कुछ बात करते हैं या कुछ ऐसी सेक्सुअल हेल्थ के रिगार्डिंग टॉपिक्स आते हैं, आप उनसे वो बात करने का ट्राई करते हो, तो मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम वो इग्नोर करते हैं या इसे फन वे में लेते हैं. वो ऐसे प्रॉब्लम्स को डिस्कस करने के लिए रेडी नहीं है. ऐसे अगर मैं इंडिविजुअली अगर किसी से मैं बात करने जा रहा हूँ, तो हमें सेफ स्पेसेस की नीड है फॉर दैट पर्पज कि वहां पे सभी अपनी बातें रख सके रिगार्डिंग सेक्सुअल एंड रिप्रोडक्टिव हेल्थ एंड देयर राइट्स. थैंक यू.
थैंक यू हर्षित. एंड आई थिंक अगेन आपने एक पॉइंट, एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट मुद्दा रेज किया है. वो ये है कि इतना डबल स्टैंडर्ड एक्चुअली है कि हम सेक्सिस्ट जोक शायद क्रैक कर सकते हैं, लेकिन जब हमें एक्चुअली इश्यूज और कॉन्सेप्ट रिलेटेड टू एसआरएच के बारे में बात करनी है अपने दोस्तों से, वो एक्चुअली इतना कठिन हो जाता है. सो आई थिंक वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट एंड थैंक यू फॉर रेजिंग दैट. Silpa, we'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, according to me, safe space is not only a space or place surrounded by four walls. It should be an inclusive space where oneself belongs and the freedom to oneself without fear of judgment and discrimination. For myself, sharing information to my family or dearest ones doesn't feel always safe, and that space would be free from emotional and physical harm. And while engaging with young people through Typeform research, I personally met someone who said she doesn't feel comfortable or safe to voice up her opinion and to her partner, and unable to express herself in front of him. That's my experience and my mindset of that space. Thank you.
Thanks, Silpa. I think similar to what Likla had mentioned, you've also said that it's as easy and as simple as actually being heard. And sometimes the safe space is also not even with someone we might actually be in a relationship with or be very close to. So thank you for raising that point. Vaibhav, would be great to hear from you. I know, sorry, that you're feeling a little unwell, so I thought I would let you write in the chat, but would be great to hear from you about this question, as well as if you would like to add anything to what you've already mentioned in the chat.
Hi, yeah, sure. Uh, First I'll go with the question about safe space. So for me, safe space is not just limited to a physical or virtual space, but it can also be expanded to certain people or situation with whom we are comfortable with. For instance, there could be I could find a safe space within some person with whom I am feeling that I can be myself with in front of that person. So that person is giving me a sense of safe space, and it's not just a literal meaning of space that we need to tend to. So when we are talking about creation of safe spaces, we can also tend to think of making ourselves as such that we can ourselves be the safe space for someone, so that the person around us can feel safe and comfortable, and we are not the person who is judging or is having stigmas around with what the person is speaking about or what one has gone through, what one experiences. So that's what I believe to be the idea of safe space. Nextly, when we talk about the inclusion of men and boys, like my fellow YAs have talked about, the concept of equality, whenever we talk about, so there's always a role that men and boys have been offered, the role of equal load sharing, of sharing the equal burden along with women. So there's one thing that I am very I would say confused about, that whenever we speak of equality, it is definitely a good thing that we should be speaking that men should be taking the equal burden, men should be taking the equal responsibility, but we need to start from the scratch that whenever the conversations about menstrual hygiene or SRHR are started, men are never included in that conversation. So I believe it is quite unfair and unreasonable to think that men would be able to know all the complete and correct information, despite that they are never being given that information, and still they are expected that they would be knowing every information, and they would be sharing the load equally, yet people are not ready to tell them. So I believe that is the point we need to focus upon. And also, as other YAs have mentioned, we need to start from schools and educational institutions for the creation of safe spaces, as well as inclusion of men and boys, because educational institutions, I believe, are the places where there are maximum number of youth who are interacting with each other on a regular basis, which shapes their mental level, and their insights get developed. So safe spaces can be created from the educational level, and information can be imparted to achieve the equality in true sense. That was my opinion.
Thank you, Vaibhav, and thank you for raising both of those points. I think especially around the safe space not actually being a physical or a digital space or platform, but a safe space could actually just be a person. And I think your second point around including young men and boys at an early age is very important. I think we also heard some of the youth ambassadors mention how we need to start this off, one, at an early age, but secondly, a lot of us have also been through this, wherein even in class 10 or class 9, when we're learning about reproduction in biology, I know a lot of the youth ambassadors mentioned that the biology teacher, for example, would separate the girls and say, this is only for you to understand, and would maybe not talk to the boys if it was a female teacher, and vice versa. If it was a male teacher, they would not even teach this concept to the young female students. And I think like Vaibhav mentioned, that when they're older, we still expect everyone to have correct, appropriate knowledge and also bear shared responsibility. But if they were not pulled into that conversation at an earlier age, it's very difficult to kind of bring them back and share this responsibility and this respect with them at a later stage. So thanks for sharing that. Unnati, over to you to share your response.
Sure. Thank you, Ada. Yeah. So everything has been said for almost. Yeah. What is sharing space for them? So what is safe space for me? It should be inclusive. It should understand and value diversity, so that everyone coming there should be respected about their opinions, about their past, about their history, everything, and it should be maybe more knowledgeable and more understanding about the emotions of the people, where people can be more vulnerable, and vulnerability should not be a sign of weakness for this space, and people should not avoid emotions. They should start speaking about that. As Harshit said about the authenticity, I would just want to go over that. I have been organizing sharing circles in my organization, and I'm very passionate about that. The problem that I'm facing is that people just join for the heck of it. They do not feel the responsibility. They do not feel the responsibility of being true to their emotions, true to their thing. That so when they come in the space, they're like they stay silent throughout the space, and there are many thoughts that keep coming, or when they even share, I'm not judging them, but when they even share, it's almost like a top level thing, that's not the upri satah se bol rahe hote hain, not in inner side. They do not go inside and do not participate authentically to the space. I feel that when you are coming to safe space, it is your responsibility to be your true self. It is your step to be more empowered about your mental well-being, about being there in the space. As a person, I have been said uh, uh, multiple times to be more professional and not share my personal stories within the professional space, and I have been continuously doing that for 4 years. I feel that a person should be authentic, and these stories should make people feel more safe. I feel that the thing that is professional is like being away from your emotions, being a corporate employee. And I feel that being creating a safe space is like it starts with you being vulnerable in front of people. I cannot say that how many sexual abuse stories I have heard when I share about mine in the space, and it is such a empowered thing to feel that. And I feel that everyone should start doing that. And when you go in this safe space, you go in some spaces where somebody is taking the initiative to do that, you should be more authentic to your emotions. Also, one question I always ask that कि अगर आपकी जिंदगी में आप कोई ऐसा सिचुएशन याद कीजिए जब आप किसी के सामने बैठे थे और वो आपको कभी सुन ही नहीं रहा था, तो व्हाट वर यू फीलिंग? सो आई जस्ट वांट कि जब आप ऐसी सिचुएशन में सुनते हैं या ऐसी सिचुएशन को इमेजिन करते हैं, आई जस्ट वांटेड टू से आई होप दैट यू डोंट वांट टू मेक समवन फील दैट, कि आप नहीं चाहते कि आप ऐसी चीजें दूसरों को फील करवाएं. तो आई जस्ट वांट यू टू बी हियर, एंड आई जस्ट वांट यू to be present, and I just don't want you to be distracted. So that's how that is, and I feel this is a powerful question, and everybody should reflect continuously. Are they making people safe? And these conversations should be all over. I feel that it should start in home, it should start in community, it should start in just if you look at in the Indian family system, it is like they only talk about the satya level of things, that what is your education, what will you eat, and when they go into deep into emotions, I hear my father say that a lot. प्रॉब्लम हुई, go move get over it. मैंने बोला पापा अभी तो प्रॉब्लम हुई है, अभी कैसे get over it? It is a long process. Let me feel my emotions. What I look at him, I feel that he has been taught to be more solution oriented and not feel his emotion, just feel happy. That toxic positivity is something that people have been taught about, and I feel that creating safe spaces in family is very important, and I feel that I've created that for my mother, and it has been she has been working and cooking for our family for 25 years. And now when my father asks to cook for me, she says no. And I want to read this book, I want to do this thing. So I give her the safe space, and it can be done just by listening. And I feel that it is a powerful tool, and everyone should do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Unnati. I think firstly, thank you for just sharing so candidly. I think it was great to hear, you talk about these different ways in which, firstly, you have facilitated a safe space in your own family. Secondly, the fact that sometimes families are not safe spaces, but we should make sure that we are trying to make them safe spaces. And I think the third point also that you mentioned around just one is that a safe space is one where we should feel vulnerable, and we should, more importantly, also feel comfortable feeling vulnerable. And I think that's where the strength or the actual credibility of a safe space comes about. That if you feel okay being vulnerable in this safe space, then it actually is safe. But thank you so much. And I think thank you to all of the youth ambassadors. You've shared so openly. And I think it's great that we've had this event so that others can also hear from you and just see what an inspirational group we have. I know we say that all the time, and it sounds like we say it too many times, but I think it truly is an incredibly inspirational group of young people who have so many diverse realities, but at the same time, there are also so many cross-cutting similarities across different contexts. But now that I am gushing over this group, I want to gush over them a little bit more. And since all of you are aware, we have been spending a lot of time with this group. This group has actually helped us come to these narratives and have also devoted so much of their own time, effort, energy. They have actively also input on some of these emerging themes that we were originally thinking of arriving on, and have actually helped us course correct. Because I know a lot of us in the Dasra group who are working with this group say it so many times to the youth ambassadors, but we are not young, or we are struggling to hold on to our youth. So we definitely like having the youth ambassadors around, because they help us give a bit of like a pulse check on what young people are thinking. And sometimes it's a little sad personally for me to see that maybe the youth has kind of shifted in its thinking, or I am definitely very old. But I want to take this time to take the audience through brief profiles about each of these youth ambassadors, so that you can also see the amazing kind of work that they have already achieved, and give you a bit of a deep dive into also the kind of work that they are involved in outside of this engagement that we've been a part of. Just prior to moving to that section, we have another youth ambassador, Ujarmani, who is here with us. So Ujarmani हमारे साथ आज जुड़ी हुई है, but लेकिन उनका जो internet connection है, it's not that stable, it's not that strong. So Ujarmani also wanted to share her responses on these two questions that we asked the youth ambassadors. So I'll request Samiha and someone from the Dasra team to quickly play her audio, and then we can move on to the next section.
आप सभी को मेरा नमस्कार। मेरा नाम उजरमनी डांग है। मैं झारखंड राज्य के सिमडेगा जिला में रहती हूँ। मैं यौन प्रजनन स्वास्थ्य एवं गर्भ निरोधक विधियों से संबंधित जानकारियां आदान प्रदान करने के लिए सुरक्षित स्थान और इनसे संबंधित जानकारियां प्राप्त करने में युवा एवं पुरुषों को भी शामिल करनी चाहिए, इस पर अपना विचार व्यक्त करना चाहती हूँ। यदि हम ग्रामीण क्षेत्र की बात करें तो किसी को भी यौन प्रजनन स्वास्थ्य या गर्भ निरोधक विधियों से संबंधित जानकारियां नहीं होती हैं, क्योंकि उन्हें किसी के द्वारा इनसे संबंधित सही जानकारी नहीं दी जाती है। पर मेरे विचार से यौन प्रजनन जानकारियां हर किशोर किशोरी एवं स्त्री पुरुषों के लिए अति आवश्यक है और इनसे संबंधित जानकारियां प्राप्त करने के लिए एक सुरक्षित स्थान का भी अति आवश्यक है, जिससे कि हर युवा किशोर किशोरी खुलकर अपने विचार प्रकट कर सके। इसलिए तब हम कह सकते हैं कि यौन प्रजनन स्वास्थ्य एवं गर्भ निरोधक विधियों से संबंधित जानकारियां प्राप्त करने के लिए सुरक्षित स्थान का होना भी जरूरी है, तभी हम सभी जागरूक रह पाएंगे। ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में आंगनबाड़ी केंद्रों पर एएनएम या सहायिका दीदी के द्वारा महिलाओं को यौन प्रजनन स्वास्थ्य एवं गर्भ निरोधक विधियों से संबंधित कुछ जानकारियां दी जाती हैं, पर यही काफी नहीं है। युवाओं एवं पुरुषों को भी इनसे संबंधित जानकारियां प्राप्त करने में शामिल करनी चाहिए। यदि हम युवा एवं पुरुषों को इसमें शामिल नहीं करेंगे तो उन्हें यौन प्रजनन स्वास्थ्य से संबंधित जिसके कारण वे महिलाओं को सही से समझ नहीं पाएंगे। और यदि हम युवाओं तथा पुरुषों को भी इसमें शामिल करेंगे तो उन्हें भी यौन प्रजनन स्वास्थ्य एवं गर्भ निरोधक विधियों से संबंधित जानकारियां प्राप्त हो सकेंगे। इसलिए अंत में मैं कहना चाहूंगी कि जब सभी युवा किशोर किशोरी एवं स्त्री पुरुष को यौन प्रजनन स्वास्थ्य एवं गर्भ निरोधक विधियों से संबंधित सही जानकारियां प्राप्त हो जाएंगे, तभी हम सभी एक दूसरे को समझ पाएंगे। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Samiha. So like I mentioned, we'll quickly be taking you through the different bios of our youth ambassadors. So Samiha, I request you to share screen. Thank you. So our first youth ambassador is Likla. Likla is a professional social worker from Manipur who works with an organization called Ya All. When we were actually speaking with all of the youth ambassadors, they also shared, one major learning from this entire experience. So you can see one on the screen in front of you. But something else that Likla actually mentioned, which was quite interesting, was that while she was interacting with young people, she learned the importance of actually asking the right questions, because they're so powerful in helping these young people realize and identify which barriers affect their well-being. And so once they know what those barriers are, they can actually learn to find out ways to help meet these needs and protect their sexual and reproductive health and rights. And the other key learning that actually she said she came out with after these interactions with young people was that she now looks beyond the binary heterosexual relationships, and she's also learned about the needs of different sexual identities and relationships which normally are not covered in the more mainstream discourses or discussions around sexual and reproductive health. So thank you for that, Likla. And I think that learning is very, very powerful. And thank you, Likla, for just spending so much time, effort, and energy on this. Our second youth ambassador is Beauty. Beauty is from Patna in Bihar. And like Beauty mentioned, she's currently pursuing a course in social work. And she also works at the Center on Social Equity and Inclusion. And over here, she works with young people and youth from marginalized communities on matters related to their education and their sexual and reproductive health and rights. Additionally, Beauty is also a member of UNICEF Yuva's YPAC, which is their Young People Action Team. And again, a key learning that Beauty said that came out from this entire engagement and this activity was that the kind of messages around SRH, around contraception, जो messages होती हैं, she said that when I actually discussed it with people on the ground, जब उन्होंने ये messages अलग-अलग लोगों के साथ, अलग युवाओं के साथ on ground में actually discuss किया था, तो she actually learned कि जो उनकी सोच थी वो काफी different थी from what हमारा actual hypothesis था या हमारा understanding था when we were going into this exercise. So, and I think something that Beauty ने भी आज जोड़ा है वो ये है कि actually इतनी कभी कभी हमें ये महसूस होता है कि जब हम इन गर्भ निरोधक या SRH के बारे में हम बात करते हैं, वो कॉन्वर्सेशन बहुत ही डिफिकल्ट होती है, बट उस कॉन्वर्सेशन को एक्चुअली बहुत डिफिकल्ट होनी नहीं चाहिए, बिकॉज ये एक्चुअली एक बहुत ही नॉर्मल चीज है जिसके बारे में हमें एक्चुअली खुली तरह से अपने पेरेंट्स या अपने लार्जर फैमिली या अपने फ्रेंड से बात करने में एक्चुअली कोई झिझक या कोई हेजिटेशन महसूस नहीं होनी चाहिए. So thank you Beauty and thank you for, like I said, spending so much time, itna apne effort bhi dala hai exercise mein, so thank you. Our next youth ambassador is Silpa. Silpa is also from Manipur and also works with All as a project coordinator. And Shilpa also shared one of her key learnings, which was that she firstly got so many good insights, but one of them in particular was that she now also herself looks forward to interacting with young people and then also challenging herself to figure out what are the different rights-based approaches that young people, based on their different realities, based on their different intersectional identities, can actually adopt or can take. So thank you for that, Silpa, and thank you, like I mentioned, for spending so much time on this. We're really, really grateful for all of the effort and all of the different responses that Silpa and Likla have actually got from not just their immediate peers, but also from a lot of underrepresented areas within Manipur. So thank you both. Our next youth ambassador is Vaibhav. Vaibhav is a third-year law student, and he himself finds topics such as gender, sustainability, casteism to actually be topics that require so much more attention and discussion than they normally get and are currently getting. And he also enjoys exploring new emerging issues. Vaibhav has also worked with the YP Foundation, Know Your Body, Know Your Rights, and he was a fellow with them. He's also a Jagrit fellow, and he's currently one of the gender champions in his university, which frankly for us is not a very surprising learning. And something that Vaibhav also shared with us was that it's more, besides obviously the learnings that he's got from speaking with other people, it's a lot more about introspecting. And he's also, and that's why he's consciously started looking for inclusion in even the existing research exercises or engagements that he's currently in, as well as in the research exercise that we did throughout this entire engagement. And Weber was actually one of the first few youth ambassadors to mention the importance of ensuring that we have an intersectional lens whenever we are analyzing any of the responses that come up or any of the emerging themes that are coming up. So I think thank you for bringing that lens for us, Weber, because that's something that we actually are now moving ahead will definitely ensure that we keep in mind. But thank you for that. Our next youth ambassador is Manasvi, who unfortunately could not join us today because of some COVID-related difficulties. But Manasvi is studying criminology and criminal justice administration, and she has previously studied psychology and anthropology, and those were her majors. And a keen area of interest for Manasvi is mental health, so much so that she's actually been involved in numerous initiatives involved in increasing awareness around mental health. And herself, she also moderates a program called What You Want, which she's working in collaboration with an NGO to produce and to ship out. Manasi again has been a very, very important part of this engagement. And while we are a little upset that she can't make it today, we do know that she was very important and pivotal in actually bringing about a more gender sensitive lens, just like how Weber brought a more intersectional lens. Mansi at every step of the process was always asking us and pushing us to answer questions around how are we ensuring that we are gender inclusive and also gender intentional in each of the different emerging themes that have come up. Our next youth ambassador is Harshit. Harshit belongs to Dioria in Uttar Pradesh, and like he mentioned, he's currently pursuing his PhD. he, like he mentioned, he has an interest in human brain and behavior, and which is why this entire engagement was something that really piqued his interest. And he, even though Harshit joined us midway, I think Harshit's contributions have been at par with all of the other youth ambassadors. He also has experience working in the social sector and also has experience working on digital campaigning. And I think something that Harshit very candidly also mentioned was that at the start, it was a little bit difficult for him to talk about issues related to sexual and reproductive health. But now he feels a lot more confident that he can talk openly about issues related to SRH with anyone. And he's like, quite frankly, and these are Harshit's words, that that's the best thing that's happened to him in these days. So I think, thank you for sharing that, Harshit. And I think that's great to also hear. And thank you, like I mentioned, for all of your time and your contributions to this exercise. Our next youth ambassador is Unnati. Unnati, I know we've heard her give a very, very nice introduction to herself, but I'd like to take the opportunity to now introduce her. Unnati is a psychology student, and as she mentioned, she's working with the NGO Medha. Her areas of interest are mental health and gender, and she, in this effort, wants to bring about greater awareness and sensitization about mental health and allowing people to actually feel more comfortable with expressing their feelings, which I think, again, is something Unnati also mentioned during the panel discussion, that it's okay to be vulnerable and it's okay to express your feelings. We also heard about Unnati's love for doodling and vlogging in her brilliant welcome address. So thank you for that, Unnati. And something that Unnati has mentioned is that during the research phase of this engagement, which was basically during the time when they had to collect survey responses, the responses received actually showed her how much of a gap there actually currently is, and how much we actually have to work towards making sure that young people feel empowered to not just talk about these issues related to sexual and reproductive health or their aspirations amongst themselves, but more importantly, that they should feel empowered enough to also have these conversations with stakeholders, both older and younger than themselves. So thank you, Unnati. And I think, like I mentioned, thank you for also setting the stage for today's event. Our next youth ambassador is Ojarmani, who again could not join us today, but as we all heard through her voice note and through the audio that we played, Ojarmani also brought with her a lens that was more rooted in the realities of young people from not just tier 2 and tier 3 cities, but from slightly peri-urban or rural areas. And I think that was great because a lot of us were based out of tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Ojarmani is from Simdega in Jharkhand, and currently she's studying from Simdega College. And she has actually worked with the NGO, the Child in Need Institute, where she conducted a lot of workshops with young boys, with adolescent girls and boys on issues related to young people. And I think when we also spoke with Unnati, even despite all of the different technical or even like the internet issues that she faces in the area where she's staying, I think it was very, very, I think, inspiring to also see Unnati make the time and put in the effort to even walk a few houses away, Ojarmani to actually walk through a few of those houses away to be able to access internet to be a part of this exercise. So I think it was really, really, I think, inspiring and more of a humbling for us to kind of see Ojarmani make that effort. So I, once again, would also just wholeheartedly like to thank all of the youth ambassadors, and I hope the audience that's gathered here today is actually as in awe of them as we are. And we do understand that these are only a small group of young people, but I think if this is our sample size, it's a very, very inspirational and I feel representative sample size of also young people and the diversity of work that young people are doing currently. With that, I will hand over to Unnati to take over and go ahead with the next steps and the closing.
Sure. Thank you, Ada. It was a really nostalgic to view all the things that we did and everybody's stories and everybody's faces. So going over the next steps is like it's more, we are more close to closing. I feel that I hope this session is one of those sessions for you that pata hi nahi chala time kahan chala gaya. So I feel that you are staying here. So to take over the next steps, I will be giving over to the command to Aditi, and she will be giving us few closing remarks and what can we do next, because we have learned all the things we did, and what are the next steps is going to be taken over by Aditi. Over to you, Aditi.
Thank you. Thanks, Unnati. And thank you to all of the youth ambassadors for sharing their perspectives, their learnings, and just their experiences from going out to the field and talking to their peers. I think it's been, like I said in the beginning, and such an eye-opening experience for me and for all of us at Dasra. So thank you again. I think just in closing, to reiterate that this was kind of an exercise to get a sense here directly from young people, what are the key kind of messages that we would need as practitioners building this 1 million youth coalition. What's sort of the entry point to having a conversation around sexual and reproductive health with young people, and how do we broach the intersection of sexual and reproductive health and improved quality of life for youth. And so what we're going to do is the narratives and the messages and the findings from these surveys that youth ambassadors did are now going to turn into a set of messages that will eventually become a campaign that will be launched through the youth coalition on social and digital media channels, as well as through some on-ground engagement with a set of young leaders as well. And we're looking forward to launching the coalition formally with a set of partners, with some of our youth ambassadors, as well as with the support of the ministry in April of this year. We're also very much, I think, inspired, like Ada said, by the voice of young people, the diversity of their perspective, and just their, I think, the willingness to have these murky and uncomfortable and difficult conversations around SRH that are unfortunately really important for us to have, and can be best had by young leaders in their communities who know what the challenges are, but also what the solutions are. And so we are in the process right now of working with our partners at Prava, some of whom are here today, in instituting a board, a youth board of about 8 to 10 young ambassadors from here, as well as a few others, to ensure it's a representative group who will be kind of the advisory body to Dasra and all of our partners as we continue to build the coalition, to ensure that all of the activities that we put out, the messaging that we put out, and all of the kind of steps that the coalition takes in terms of building greater access to SRH come from a place of what young people need and are relevant and speak to where young people are right now. That's our effort to hopefully keep the coalition fresh and dynamic and relevant to young people, and learning from what's working and what's not on a continual basis. So we're very excited to kind of move forward in this direction, to continue to have young people's voices right at the center of all of the kind of decision making and the program design and strategy moving forward. So thank you very much. We look forward to continuing to work with all of the partners who've been here, a lot of whom have been watching on our YouTube stream, continuing this interaction and relationship with youth ambassadors, and who will hopefully continue to be ambassadors of the coalition and continue to lead just the way they have been in their communities to ensure we're doing everything we can to have young people's quality of life get better and better. Thank you so much for your time today. We hope everyone stays safe and well. And look forward to continuing working on this together. Unnati, back to you. Closing, final words.
So, as we are so close to the closing, so close, yet not so far, I just want can we take a group picture? People are leaving and I want to see a group picture. So please open your videos, and I want to see everyone's face, and let's take a goodbye picture. And before the poll, stay for the poll. Poll is important. Yeah. So yeah, just a picture. Let's please be there, and maybe Zakir make the magic happen. Take the picture.
Yeah, Sagar, can you remove? Yeah, remove the spotlight and so that all of us are in the picture.
Hey, everyone ready?
Hi, Zaki.
1, 2, 3, go. Thank you, everyone.
Sure. So before going away and before leaving this space, I feel that I hope this was a safe space for you. So before going, there is a poll that will be coming soon. Soon, 1, 2, 3, and it will be there. Boom. So please fill it, and it will be. Yeah, I would really like to hear your opinions. It will just take few minutes.
Thank you. I think we have received enough responses. So thank you, Unnati, for moderating the whole session. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And if you have any question related to the emerging narratives that